GoTHeFicMedia.com presents Beyond the Wall, a Game of Thrones podcast. With hosts Christiana Ellis, Jute Schubert, Vivid Muse, and Nookchus.
You're muted, Jute.
Again, of course. And I think, well, it might not, but the graphic overlay looked like it was backwards, and it usually doesn't. So something changed again.
It looked fine to me.
Welcome to our Season 5 reaction show we just finished watching about a half hour ago. And we're going to talk about it a little bit.
Episode 10, yes.
Episode 10.
The name changed.
The name of the episode?
Oh, really?
Well, what did you think it was? IMDb had said that it was going to be winter, and when I hit play on HBO Now, it said it was Mother's Mercy.
That's what I saw on mine too, because I was sure that it was a different title than that. But okay, yeah, that.
Sneaky HBO.
There was a couple of really sneaky fake outs in this episode. They even put a fake out in the previously on.
I know, I caught that too. Yeah.
I was the fake out in the previously on?
Yeah, I didn't. I missed it.
Oh,
they're showing all of these shots of Benjen and making it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, they wouldn't be reminding us about Benjen. Benjen didn't show up again.
It was like, ooh, Benjen,
interesting.
Coming.
Except that as soon as Ollie burst in and said, "Oh, John, guess what? There's this guy. He says he saw Benjen." I was just like, "Oh, you guys." No.
I had the exact same thought, and I didn't see the previously on thing. I was out of the room when it was played. But for some reason, I thought this was a trap.
That was this thing. Yeah, so we're not going to have to... Do we have to go with any specific kind of format or anything tonight?
Nope.
Since it's just a reaction
we just
show?
call out highlights.
Okay, so John... is the thing that was the fade to black.
Yeah.
The fuck. My note is the fuck.
Yes.
Okay, so. But,
I threw my book when I read that.
So it happened in book 5?
Yeah. And when I saw it, I have a brand new theory.
Wait. Let's hear what Chooch.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Chooch.
Yeah.
So.
I have no theories.
But I mean, were you one that was saying Danny and John on the throne at the end of it? Or were you?
Yeah.
So, the fuck, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter who his mama was. It even...
So I will say, Viv, when we had talked before about you wanting Nutty and I to maybe have a conversation where we go ahead and spoil you, and I said how there was really only one more big thing.
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we've been watching a lot of shows, like we normally do a lot of interview shows, like we watch Graham Norton and we watch
sometimes James Corden,
Myers.
depending on the guests.
Yeah, but almost always Seth Meyers, and we've seen him, Kit Harington, on every one of these shows, and it's just been wow, there must be something really big. What is he doing? Is he meeting Danny? Oh my God! It's shit.
And they grilled them on Graham Norton. They're like, so who dies? Well, do you kill anybody? Well, I can't tell you that.
Yeah, there is a death, and I can't tell you who it is. And it was now it's oh my God, it was him.
But he did say there would be some shocking moments.
Do what, Christiana?
It was not just him. We also had another notable...
Oh my God.
Well, did we?
Did we what?
Other notable deaths. We did not see dead bodies.
Well, okay, so I have an opinion on this. I will say I'm suspicious with Stannis because that was too easily set up to be a fake out where does the swing and then we just see she actually chopped into the tree or something for some reason. She couldn't do it at the last second.
It sounded
I'm suspicious.
It sounded like Pain. They timed the cut so it sounded like Ramsay did it, and it did sound like Pain. It didn't just sound like effort.
I'm suspicious with that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
With
but
Marcella, though, I feel like they set us up that this poison would definitely kill you unless you had the antidote. And how could they possibly have an antidote? I believe that one is done. I agree. Yeah.
Which makes me mad because I thought she was going to have a whole story.
Okay. I mean, and that's what I remember about Marcella is that like when I leave off, where my memory leaves off with Marcella is that she's almost on like this kind of adventure thing in Dorne and has like this storyline with this old knight, and it's just like all that's just gone. I mean, it's just so confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So how far? So they've gone. So John was a part of Book 5, Dance with Dragons.
Yeah.
Was Marcella?
I don't think so, because she features heavily in Book 4.
Right.
And so the storyline that she had in the book instead of this one, like they no longer overlap.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's certainly not dead by poison, at least.
Yeah, she's still alive in the books, at least. And Reek and Sansa.
Oh, wow.
They jump off, but we don't see them land. So I'm still holding out hope there. Maybe one of those giant eagles comes or something.
Fluffy snowbank.
Something. I don't know.
Snowbank. Yeah, because we had just seen Miranda fall face first, and she did not look too pretty.
No.
Yeah, that was a rough effect.
That was very fierce, and they just turned around and jumped, and we're supposed to think they survive it because it's snow, not iced, and frozen over snow, but soft snow.
Miranda's had a crunch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because she landed on paved courtyard as opposed to snowbank. So.
And then comes Ramsay.
Yeah.
Pick his girlfriend up off the floor and find his wife.
And I have to say that some of what happened here proves me wrong about something I thought from the books, or I suppose it is just different. It's possible that it's just different. But in the books, one thing that happens is that we haven't seen the battle of Stannis going to Winterfell, but it's like leading up to it, and then at Castle Black, Jon gets a letter or a raven basically from Ramsay saying, "Ha ha! I killed your stupid Southern King Stannis," and so basically saying that they've won. But I thought it was a trick, and I was thinking, no, I don't buy that. I think he's a liar. But this happening here makes me wonder, maybe not. Maybe he's not a liar. Maybe that is what happened.
Yep.
Jesus.
And I've actually heard there's a preview chapter that might answer that question, but I haven't read it.
Huh. So.
It's crazy.
So, Chooch, are you looking at the timeline that I gave you? Because I'm not.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. That was a. Wow.
So Biggies, Sam going out of town, heading to the Citadel with Gilly.
Yeah.
So they're off to presumably safety.
Yeah.
Well, in a nick of time too, hopefully.
Well, it's interesting too because we certainly hinted earlier in this season talking about, especially like when we talked about Eamon, and we just kept mentioning that like things were happening differently with Sam, and it's basically just that in the books he left way earlier before Eamon died, and it was Eamon went with them and then died on the journey.
Yeah. That's why, Chooch, that's why I was so unprepared when Aemon died and why I was sobbing like a ridiculous child, because he wasn't supposed to be dead yet. I thought we had a little longer with him.
That's fair. That's fair.
Kind of like when... I mean, he was always, he was always on the side of good, and I'm just... So what do you think the repercussions are going to be at Castle Black, Chooch?
It's insane. I mean, the Wildlings already went through. They don't have the men to go. The Free Folk, thank you. Yes, yes. I don't want to disparage them. And so the Free Folk are already through. There's too many of them for the Night's Watch to go hunt them down.
Certainly.
So I don't know why they opened the fucking gate.
Yeah, if they were just going to kill Jon afterwards, why didn't he?
So now they have a huge problem on their hands.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe they saw the wisdom of having them on this side of the wall, but still thought of him as a traitor. You know, they still realized that that's fewer whites or White Walkers to fight.
So having having the brothers protect them to bring them back was the biggest traitorous treat.
Mm-hmm.
Treat.
Yeah, I think it's just an element of they weren't prepared to just disobey an order like when it was all happening, but I think it was more a matter of, well, we talked about him failing in the PR front. I think that that's ultimately what did it. It's one thing when he says, "I'm the Lord Commander, you have to do what I say," and they're all saying, like, "Well, okay, I guess," but then it just increasingly it starts looking worse and worse and worse, and he doesn't act like he knows what to do about it. And so I think that's where they broke. Is that would be one thing if they disagreed, but he seemed to at least know what he's talking about. Whereas I think John was running around acting too much like the weight of these decisions was wearing him down, which they probably were. It's totally fair, but I think when he acts that way, they lose whatever confidence they might have had.
So, can I share my new theory?
Yeah.
Okay, so Melisandre gets back to camp just before all this stuff happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've said that she's in the camp in the books. Mm-hmm. So my new theory, is she plays Thoros of Myr to Jon and rises him like Thoros has been doing with Beric Dondarrion, and Jon's coming back. Yep. That's my theory, and that's why she had to come back.
There is also, I like that theory, and then there's also the idea that, so far in the show we've only seen Bran do the warging.
Yeah.
But it's something that is set up more in the books. The idea that it might even be something that Jon could do too, like if he warged into Ghost or something.
Well, and I don't know how.
But he bled out. I mean.
Well, yeah, but like that would certainly still be a change. But I just mean it would be. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Believable.
Yeah.
They set up stuff that hadn't been paid off in the books related to warging, and that it's not just Bran.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That was my theory while reading the books. My theory was his consciousness was going to find Ghost, and his body was going to die, but he was going to stay in Ghost. And but now I have a new theory that doesn't preclude the other one. The other theory is definitely valid.
Becomes a more appropriate name.
Yes. Ooh, almost prophetic.
Yeah.
Because in the book, there's another character that actually wargs into his bird before he's killed, and he's stuck in his bird.
Yeah. They in the books, they really set it up like that's one of the possible things. And they haven't really dealt with that in the show, though, which might...
They did a little bit with Ygritte and Oral and the bird attacking Jon after the guy was dead and that kind of stuff. So they touched on it. But
speaking of which, this is a total tangent nitpick. I'm sorry, but Jon had like this whole like red thing on his face that I don't remember being there before. When did that happen? What is that?
I didn't see it. What like as he's
he had a whole big new scrape on his face, even when he's talking to Sam earlier in the episode. It looked as though it was supposed to be an injury he sustained during the battle, except that I don't remember it being there before.
Well, I'm doing a rewatch before we do our. I know we're doing our episode 10 recording on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. But then whenever we do the finale episode, I'll have finished my rewatch of this season, and it's already proving to be kind of interesting. So I just. It's really interesting on so Chooch, where do you stand on Stannis? Did you think that he's alive, or are you frozen?
It could go. It's 50. It's Schrodinger's Stannis. we won't know. Yeah.
Nice.
That was
clue
a great scene, though.
Yeah.
I was honestly disappointed in Brienne, though. she chose she chose to abandon her vigil for watching for Sansa in order to go after Stannis for revenge, which felt a lot more personal and petty by comparison. And so as a result, like I'm not. This is not criticism of the writing. It's more just like I think Brienne made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually partly why I also think that she might not have actually done it, because it might have been kind of a matter of like at the very last moment she decided, what am I doing? This is not how I should be doing this. But I don't know. I might be wrong.
She's been walking for a long time trying to honor her oaths, so maybe she just said, you know what, fuck it. An oath kept in the hand is worth two in the bush, kind of a thing, you know, and you know what I mean? It's like she'd have to wait until how much longer until, I mean, she knew Stannis was coming. I don't know. I don't even know if she could have gotten in at that point, though.
Well, the timing of the episode seems to me to have made it clear that the show's perspective is that she did the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And it's proven just by the fact that it's like the moment she leaves is when the signal she was watching for showed up.
They even had a musical cue.
Yeah.
And it's true that, like, you know, would she have been able to get into the castle? Maybe not, but, like, she would have been doing something to try to help.
Yeah.
Like, assuming that Theon and Sansa are not splattered on the ground, they're going to need to get away.
Yeah. And it would have been the perfect opportunity, because all of the people who are fighting are gone from the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Jesus.
That's why Sansa lit the candle at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. What about Arya?
Arya.
That was
so
fun.
Meryn
gets going blind. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, Meryn gets extra dark, and then boom, there he is. You know, I think I called it on the last episode first. She and goes medieval on his ass. I mean, you know, she did it for real. She went all the way in.
Was that the girl that she gave mercy to? Is that the face she used?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I thought it.
I wouldn't have necessarily recognized it, but again, in the previously on, they showed that scene. So I'm pretty sure that's who it was.
Previously on. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that was the case. And also, she kind of did to the pain on him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't do the hands and the feet, but definitely the whole thing of leaving the ears so that she could lecture at him.
Yeah, there was definitely to the pain.
Payoff, she used the little clam knife.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Nice.
I thought it was. Sorry, I don't mean to.
No, go.
I thought it was super cool and creepy that the scene afterwards where it's kind of like, only death can pay for life. And she's like so sad. Oh no, it's Jaqen. But then Jaqen's behind her, and it's just like this whole thing of us realizing, wait a minute, when the other guy made himself look like Jaqen before, like, does that mean it was really Jaqen in disguise before? Or maybe it's someone else making themselves look like Jaqen?
They are no one. They have...
So it's like
are literal. There is no Jaqen. That's one of the faces. Like her name is when she's the clams and mussels girl.
So when Jaqen or not Jaqen drinks the poison, all of a sudden I'm flashing back to Buffy and Helfrich dying. You know, I was like, oh my god, they just totally pulled a Hoffer and Helfrich thing, and then he's like behind her, and I'm like, oh snap. Joss. That's awesome.
And then Nutty, you can vouch for this. I called it when we did this other panel at Balticon about Game of Thrones, including like what's the end game and talking about spoilers, and so people asked what I thought was going to happen with Arya, and I said she's Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
And she even had pull off the mask, it's herself inside. Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, she's totally on Dagobah right now. She's Luke Skywalker.
And you guys can listen to that when Tim Dodge releases the episode this summer.
Yeah.
Who's in the chat with us? Hi, Tim.
Right on.
Hey, Tim.
So Mike McCauley says he was with me on predicting Arya doing the face thing, wasn't predicting the consequences. So yeah, going blind, I guess, because she blinded the guy, Marin Tran.
She did.
That's an interesting connection.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. What was I going to say? Arya is one of the only characters now who has not caught up with the books. Almost all of the other characters are caught up for where they are in the books.
The end of book 5, you mean?
Yeah.
And this is only
Jamie is different. Like, Jamie and Brienne are not caught up because their story is so different. It's like they're on just a completely different path. But everyone that has been staying pretty close to their plot in the books, everyone else is caught up to their end of book 5 position except for Arya, pretty much.
Yep. She's close, though.
Yeah, she's not too far off, but...
How far is Davos?
Davos is way off course.
Oh,
yeah.
Like other plot.
Yeah, like Jamie, he never even went up to Castle Black with Stannis in the book.
He had another mission.
Jesus, there's so many conversations I wish I'd had. Damn it. Damn you, Holyfield.
At least Davos didn't go down with Stannis. That would have been an even more of a bummer.
It's like, yeah, but with Shireen being a wasted, a hollow sacrifice, just damn it.
Yeah.
If it hadn't
unless
been
it's
for
the power that
Melisandre.
raises Jon. That's some kind of redemption, but still.
No.
Mike McCauley has a question, so now it makes me wonder if Marcella's fiance, I'm horrible with names, Trystane is in on the killing and now plans to get rid of Jamie, or is he just toast when Jamie gets back? I wouldn't think he had anything to do with it at all, because he seemed in love.
He was good on selling the love. If he's in on it, he was very convincing. But I mean, there's horn dogs anyways.
Yeah, I don't think he was in on it either. I don't even think Bran was. I think this was still all Ilaria and the Sand Snakes, which is actually still different. I said last time that I felt like there was another shoe to drop still, and one did, but it was not what I thought. I thought that there was going to be a reveal that Doran was actually plotting something else in the meantime. But and who knows, that could even still be true. But I don't think this was the plan. I think this was still Ilaria. And it actually faked me out a couple of times, because the scene that Ilaria had with Jamie last time was just weird enough that it made me think, what's going to happen here? And I wondered, when he was getting ready to tell Marcella about being her father, I wondered if was Ilaria's secret plan to prime him to tell her, and then she would freak out, and it was like all head games? And I thought that's what it was going to be. But then Marcella said, "Oh no, I know all about it, and I'm totally cool with it." And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that Ilaria is very short-sighted, and she really doesn't. She's not thinking about Trystane, and she doesn't realize how much danger she's put him in.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that she just literally gave Trystane over as a hostage to be possibly sacrificed as revenge.
And she committed suicide if Doran finds her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, she has to go into exile now.
Yeah.
Unless he's in on it.
Well.
Which I doubt.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. It definitely seems like a willing to take the chance that she'll be executed for this. But yeah, I agree. I'm actually a little disappointed, just because in the books the storyline. So the storyline in the books is not. The plot is more complicated. It's not just revenge for Oberyn, and so having it be just revenge for Oberyn here is a little frustrating, because it lacks some of the nuance from the books.
Well, I just don't think that she's. Yeah, they've made her pretty maybe two-dimensional, maybe, but I mean, really not. She's less interesting, less dynamic and less compelling than she was last season, and I don't think it's just the sex stuff. I think that like you said, the short-sightedness just doesn't seem like her. It doesn't seem like Oberyn either, and he was very short-sighted when he was fighting what Chooch now has dubbed Franken Mountain. You know, he could have killed the mountain, and then he was doing a little dance, and he died instead, and Jesus. And
Yeah.
Cersei, I mean, after what we saw Cersei put herself through and ostensibly just to be back with Tommen, just so he wouldn't be alone. And she doesn't even know about Marcella, and she walked until her feet were bloody. They were throwing all forms of biohazards at her, and the only thing she needed to keep going was keeping sight of the Red Keep in her in line of sight, and she just kept going. And when she finds out what happened to Marcella, dude.
And she collapsed once,
Yeah.
but the whole time, and she cried.
Yeah.
Never lowered her head.
Mm.
Her chin was up the entire time.
I feel like Cersei was a lot stronger doing this walk of shame in the show than it felt like in the books. Because in the books, we're in her head and she's like falling apart.
Yeah.
But this was kind of cool.
And she made it, yeah.
I think in the books, it wasn't such like a forced march exactly, and I think, and so like basically she knew she had to walk back, but it wasn't paced the way that it is here. And I think I think in the books she was trying to stay all regal and dignified, and above it all as much as she could, but near the end it started to be too much, and she actually broke and started running and crying and.
Hey, for
William
once,
Hunter,
one of the female characters was able to handle something stronger in the show than in the book, so kudos.
They were due. William Hunter says in the Q&A, somehow Game of Thrones had me rooting for Stannis and Cersei in an episode.
Yeah, I know. How weird is that?
Yeah. Well, it's certainly true that one of the things that the books are kind of renowned for is making you loathe a character and then turning you around on them at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah. Well, and Cersei, like, I'm not rooting for her, but at the same time, what I kept thinking during that whole walk was like, this is no way to treat a human being. Like, nobody should have to do this. This is not good for anybody. Like, much less whether the person deserves it or not. But just like that shouldn't be a way that you treat anybody. And it's and so that kind of that's my takeaway, is that it doesn't leave me feeling like, oh, I'm on Cersei's side now.
Well, yeah,
It's more just a matter of like. Yeah, these are, well, and it also it makes me angry that they're still hypocrites, because, their whole thing of like, they're so focused on, oh, well, the nobility is not above God's law, and we're going to punish them just like we would anyone else. They wouldn't do this to just some random person who happened to cheat on her husband.
Well, at least they haven't shown us that they have, and if they haven't shown us, then we can't make the assumption that it happens. So you're right.
And they didn't do this to Loras. That's the other thing. This all started because Loras confessed to having an affair with Cersei.
Lancel.
Sorry, Lancel.
Right.
But Lancel also volunteered and signed up to be a sparrow, so I think that's like, presumably he had his own atonement that wasn't this. But that's my whole point.
He's got the whole thing on his forehead now.
Well, right, but like that's my whole point, is that making Cersei do this instead of the atonement be something more private is because it's not really about her. It's about showing the common people that the nobility can be taken down.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
BS.
William Hunter asks, did you guys get a Jesus vibe from Cersei's walk? Which I think the cinematography, whatever, certainly, but I don't think she was going through a Jesus thing. I mean, other than
I don't
back
think
in
it's
power
the same.
and taking away the church's power immediately. Even if it frees Marjorie.
I don't think that it's the same, but I do think that there were definitely strong implications there. And I know, like in the books, that I remember I was counting how many times is she falling? You know, is it 3 times? Because I definitely felt that vibe the first time. So I think that that's definitely there. But I think that's just kind of among the idea that this is what it's like in these kinds of brutal societies, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty primal. I didn't think Jesus. I just kept thinking that it looked the harder and worse it got, and the more disgusting things that were sticking to her after they were thrown at her.
Oh yeah, that was
It
gross.
just became very, very clear that every single step she was taking was as a mother, and it was in the direction of the only child that was in reach of her. One is in the grave, one is across the sea, and one is that way. If she can just swallow all of her pride, lose her hair, lose her gown, walk through, what, my God, that's got to be flea bottom when they really turned ugly. That was like they really hit the rough area. It was just, to me, I didn't even think of the Jesus symbolism. There was no cross or anything like that. They didn't have her carry a star.
Well,
But
she's also not sinless.
No.
And it just was, for me, a very mother moment more than anything
the fact
else.
that she's still expected to go to trial now, and I think she's going to do everything in her power to make that not happen. Like Mike McCauley says, how many people did you hear scream "brother" or "fucker" during the Walk of Shame? I don't think she's going to willingly put herself in a position to defend herself.
Yep.
Again.
One of the things that I thought the show was going to do that they didn't, that I'm kind of glad they didn't for a couple of reasons, but I thought they were going to have Tommen see her that way.
I was so scared for that.
Yeah, I'm just on the basis of that would be an awful thing for him to see. It also doesn't make sense because we saw that as soon as she entered the keep, the Gold Cloaks and the Lannister soldiers took over. The Sparrows did not follow her inside, and there's no way that Kevin Lannister or any of the other people in there, none of them are going to make that happen. And the whole part of her whole deal is that like Tommen. What she's been told is that Tommen won't see anybody. So, like, would they really have dragged him out of the throne room for this?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, I agree. I think that she definitely has a great case to overthrow the Faith Militant now, and she can definitely argue her innocence by saying, look, they locked me up and forced me to confess. I did what I had to do, and, I am the victim here.
Yeah. I knew my son was alone, and I did what I had to do so he wouldn't be alone amongst all these horrible things happening to his wife. And
well, we also haven't heard what's going on with Marjorie at this point.
No news on Marjorie, no news on Loras.
Let's not forget, she told that Septa she was going to kill her.
Oh yeah, she hasn't forgotten that. You can tell.
Right. Well, I think we'll have a lot more discussion about Cersei on Wednesday, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I want to mention Dany briefly.
Oh yeah.
Viv and I had a bit of
we didn't even get there.
Viv and I had a little bit of a disagreement. So with Drogon, that she's saying we have to go home, we have to go, and Viv feels that he kind of turned away, sulking.
Yeah.
That I just got you to myself. I'm not going to take you back.
I don't want to share you again.
I think I'm fucking tired.
What did you guys think?
I think it could be a number of different things. It might be partly just I'm tired and it still hurts, but I think just in terms of the broader thematic stuff I've talked about before, where I think that the behavior of the dragons ties into how much she is doing what she is supposed to be doing according to whatever destiny controls these things. And so the idea going back to Marine, is she supposed to go back to Marine? Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe that's why the dragon won't take her back, is because that's not what she's supposed to do.
That's my belief too. The showing up of the Dothraki was surprising.
So, so how far? Okay, so real quick, I know because we're going to record again on Wednesday, but how far does Dany's storyline go now compared to book 4 or 5?
Almost here, there's really only one other thing that happens, but it's basically as she's walking away from wherever. I mean, that whole thing takes a couple of weeks. Like Drogon's bringing her food and all this other stuff before she sets out on her own.
I was gonna say, it looked like they'd been there for a while.
Yeah, but up until those Dothraki show up, she was pretty much on schedule, except for one other thing that happens that, could be minor and has been debated. And yeah, it's one of those weirdly written things.
So our Stark head count right now, because Chooch, I don't know how much longer you're going to let us talk, but can we just do a Stark head count right now? So far as I know, Sansa's alive. We presume that she landed on soft, bouncy snow.
She's a maybe.
John's dead. We saw him bleed out on screen. His eyes glazed over. Are we going to call that one a death?
I think yes, in the sense that they can't cheat it without a serious plot development.
Yeah.
Like there's no ordinary way that he can be okay. Not like say with Stannis, where it's like we can get a cut back and realize she chopped the tree or something.
Yeah.
Or poked him in the arm and said, "Okay, you're coming with me" or something. But yeah, with Jon, I think he's either dead or something big plot-wise is going to happen.
Something magical. Like Red Priesty or Children of the Foresty or Night Kingy.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a place in the storyline where that might happen, though, it seems to be there.
I did half expect his eyes to turn blue when he was.
Yeah, well, that's another possibility. Yeah, that would be one of the less fun ways he might not be dead.
Because I noticed the Boltons left bodies littered.
Oh God, they did! I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what Chooch said. He goes, and he didn't burn any of them because he said, "Let's go see my lady wife. She probably misses me." And then they show this field like hundreds, depending on if they're using Dothraki math.
Even before we saw how it happened, once we saw like all of the Bolton army riding out and that many on horses, I was just going, "Oh, that's too many."
That's
just like
that's too many for this, yeah.
Well, and
engulfed.
Yeah, there's like there are that many people on horses and they're on foot and how exhausted from having marched on. No, there's just no way.
They are not.
Yeah, so I literally just out loud said, "That's too many."
This was crazy. So yeah, William Hunter. It's funny. It used to be that it would be a joke that no major characters ever die in a drama series, but Game of Thrones become a cliche with characters dropping left and right. And the finale,
one thing
held up on it.
That sucks though, because I was digging Tommen and Marjorie. I was thinking, okay, we might have a little peaceful ruling. Lady Olenna's smart. She could help guide Marjorie and Tommen, and this just. Go ahead, Chooch.
Cersei and Kevin butting heads, and who knows? Who knows what's going to go there? Ted Dodge had said earlier with Jon, the last frame. Am I the only one who, during that last shot of the episode, was thinking, "You know nothing, Jon Snow"? And William Hunter says, "I think that should have been on his tombstone. Here lies Jon Snow. He knew nothing."
He knew nothing.
Yep. Yeah. One of the now I've forgotten it. Oh, there was something else. That's okay. I don't. It was something to do with. I'm sorry. I'm not going to remember it on the spot here. If I think of it, I'll speak up again.
So I'm not the only one that's happening to. This is late.
And I guess on Wednesday night we'll talk about our guesses for what the last frame was going to be and see who was right. Mine was wrong. I'll say that. I don't need to say what it was, but I'll say it Wednesday.
Jorah made a Mal quote. Jorah was Captain Mal.
Dude,
what did he say?
If I kill you, you'll be awake.
Right.
I expected him to say, and armed.
Your eyes will be open, yeah.
Although I liked that Tyrion being the recipient of that is just kind of like, okay. Like, whatever.
That doesn't put me at ease, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, like that makes it fair somehow or something?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Right. So yeah, I think we'll save the rest till Wednesday.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Well, I can definitely tell we're all excited.
Yeah, I'll talk about a lot happening, and we talk about how sometimes the penultimate episode is the action, and the denouement is episode 10, and no, not this time. Which means we'll probably have a slow episode 1 next season, which is fine.
And next season we will all be newbies.
You have to be.
Yeah. Because there's pretty much very little left. Yeah.
We haven't seen Bran, and who else have we not seen?
Unless somehow the next book drops.
We've seen Marcella now. Marcella's update, huh?
Well, the biggest shoe that even the books still haven't dropped is we still have no idea where Rickon is, and he still has his direwolf as far as we know.
Yep.
So he's certainly a wild card that could show up at any moment. There's also a lot of stuff that the books have done with the Iron Islanders that hasn't been in the show yet, but may still. And so then I feel like the only other characters that haven't caught up to their book counterparts are the ones that are in a completely different storyline anyway.
Yeah.
That was cray-cray, guys.
Yeah. I think it hasn't fully sunk in yet that there's not going to be another one next week.
I know, right? It feels like there's so much left.
That's true.
Like we're in the middle.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, that's part of the fucked up nightmare that we're in here.
All right, checking real fast. Any other comments? No, there were not. So we're going to get to bed and start our week and talk to everybody. Yeah, talk to everybody again on Wednesday with our in-depth discussion of the craziness. And then sometime a couple weeks after that, we'll do our season wrap-up and our view of the entire season as a whole and talk that over. So thanks for tuning in to this special episode. And we'll catch you next time. Boop, boop, boop.
If you have feedback for the Beyond the Wall podcast, you can email us at btw@specficmedia.com. You can also leave us a comment on the website. Go to specficmedia.com where you'll find a shiny BTW button. That'll take you right to our page. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike 3.0 Unported license. Feel free to share and remix. Just give us credit and don't charge money for it.